Alright, so I realized that we have done an exponents lesson before, but this exponents lesson is a little different because it is exponents with rational numbers. You'll remember that when we talk about rational numbers, we're going to talk about things like whole numbers. We're going to include things like fractions. And we're also going to include things like decimals. Okay, so when we talk about exponents with rational numbers, we're going to be including all three of these things. And so while this is a little bit of a review lesson, there's also new material in here. Alright, so what is an exponent? This is a review part. So an exponent is a number that tells you how many times the base number is being multiplied with itself. Okay, so how many times the base number is being multiplied times itself, being multiplied with itself. And so right here, with this graphic, we have 4 to the 5th power. This 4 right here is the base. And then this little 5 right here in the upper right hand corner, this is called the exponent, or you can say it's also called the power. So you can say 4 to the 5th power or 4 to the exponent of 5. Alright, if you remember, you can write exponents in 3 different ways. The first way that you can write them is in standard form. Standard form is simply going to ask you for the answer to the problem. So what is 9 to the 2nd power? Well, 9 times 9 is 81. The second way to write exponents is in something called expanded form. So if I give you 9 to the 2nd power and I say to write it in expanded form, I'm asking you to expand it. I'm asking you to simply stretch it out. So 9 times 9. Okay, and then the third way to write exponents is in exponential form, the key word in exponential being exponent. So you're going to write it with a base and with an exponent, so just 9 to the 2nd power. And we're going to practice those 3 ways right now with whole numbers, with integers, with integers, with fractions, and with decimals. Okay, so let's take a look at an example with a whole number here. So exponential form, we have a base of 4 and an exponent of 3. And in exponential form, this is actually going to be the exact same thing, 4 to the 3rd power. It's already in exponential form for us. I'm going to skip down here to expanded form. So how do I write 4 to the 3rd power in expanded form? It's going to be 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, slowly we're going to start to get away from using this x as a times. So you're also going to see me write it like this, using the dot. And you may also see me write it with parentheses. Because remember, when you have parentheses next door to each other, that signifies multiplication. Okay, so any of these 3 ways are acceptable for expanded form. Now standard form, remember, is just going to ask you for the answer. And so what is 4 to the 3rd power? Well, I like to go back down to my expanded form and kind of help use that as an answer. So I have 4 times 4, which is 16 times 4. So that's going to be 64 is standard form. Okay, and that should be review. Alright, exponential form again. So here we have 7 to the 4th power. Here's my base, here's my exponent, and so this one's already in exponential form for us. I'm going to skip down here to expanded form. So this is going to be 7 to the 4th power. So it's going to be 7 multiplied times itself 4 times. So 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. You can also write it in parentheses next to each other. And you can also write it with a dot instead of an X. Now in standard form, and remember standard form is the answer. And so I like to come down here and use my expanded form because it helps me out. So I had 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. Well, 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 7 is 49. So what's 49 times 49? Let's go ahead and solve that. 9 times 9 is 81. 9 times 4 is 36. 36 plus 8 is 44. Done with the 8. 4 times, put my 0 as a placeholder. 4 times 9 is 36. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus 3 is 19. Add these all up. 1, 10, 14, 2. 2,401. All right, now let's get into some fractions and decimals, okay? So here we have 1/3, or sorry, 1/2 to the third power. So our base is 1/2 and our exponent is 3. Now this is already an exponential form for us, but a couple things that I want you to start to notice. This is a fraction, okay? Do you see how it's in parentheses here? Very important. It is a very, very good habit to keep all fractions in parentheses. The reason why is because it keeps it organized and clean. When you start to put fractions in expanded form and you start to list out multiple fractions, it keeps it very clean looking, and I'll show you what that means in just a second. But it's a very good habit. So here our exponential form is going to be the exact same thing, okay? So here our standard form, all we're doing is we're taking our base and we're multiplying it out times itself 3 times. So watch how I'm going to do it. 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. But you see how I kept it in parentheses there, okay? You can take away those x's for times if you want and just do the parentheses. This is a much cleaner way to do it. The other way that you can do it is put a dot in between. But the key here is keeping it in parentheses. Now, how do you figure out standard form? And remember, we know that standard form is the answer. Very simple. All we're doing, guys, is multiplying fractions. So here I have 1/2 times 1/2, times 1/2. So watch carefully. Remember, we multiply straight across, okay? What's 1 times 1 times 1? 1. What's 2 times 2 times 2? 8. That's your answer, 1/8. Not too bad at all. Okay? Now we have a decimal. So now we have 1/8 to the second power. This is our base. This is our exponent. So it's already in exponential form for us. All right, let's put it out into expanded form. So this is my base, and this is how many times I need to expand it. So 1.8 times 1.8. I can also write it by putting it next door to each other in parentheses. And I can also write it with a multiplication dot in between. This probably may not be the wisest choice because the multiplication dot might get lost with the decimal dot. I would probably choose the parentheses route. Okay? Either way though, now we need to solve for standard form, which is the answer. Okay? But you know how to do this. 1.8 to the second power is simply 1.8 times 1.8, and we know how to multiply decimals. 1.8 times 1.8. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 6 is 14. I'm done with the 8, done with my 6, put my 0 as a placeholder. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 1 is 1. Add them all up. 4, 12, 3. How many numbers are after the decimal? 2. 1, 2. Your answer is 3.24. Alright, now this is also review, but it serves as a good reminder. Please, please, please remember that even with fractions and decimals, and same thing with whole numbers, anything that is to the 0 power will have an answer of 1. It doesn't matter if it's a fraction, it doesn't matter if it's a decimal. If it's to the 0 power, the answer is 1. So for example, 19.5 to the 0 power, the answer is 1. If it's 1/8 to the 0 power, the answer is 1. Alright, so go ahead and try these two. I need you to put them in expanded form for me. Alright, if you're not done, go ahead and hit pause. If you are done, let's make sure our answers match. So I decided to use parentheses. If you used X's as times or dots, that's okay for the first one. The second one, you need to make sure that you used parentheses around those fractions. Remember, I told you that's a habit you need to get into. So make sure that you have 6 of them for the first one and 4 of them for the second one, but please make sure that you have parentheses around your fractions for the second one. Alright, let's go ahead and try these. I need you to put these into exponential form. Please do not forget your parentheses with the fraction. Alright, you can go ahead and pause if you're not done, and if you are done, let's go over it. So the first one, you should have gotten 19.8 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th power. And then for the second one, you can write it as a mixed number, 1 3/8 to the 6th power, but that 1 3/8 needs to be in a parentheses. Again, look at the reason why. If I did not write it in parentheses, do you see how easily this 6 could get lost on the numerator right here, and how quickly it can start to look like this, 1 36 over 8? We don't want that. That's why we put it in parentheses. We don't want the exponent getting lost in the numerator, okay? That's why we separate in parentheses. Alright, please go ahead and try these in standard form. All right, if you're not done, go ahead and hit pause so that you can finish. And if you are done, let's go ahead and go over it. So for the first one, you had 2.5 to the third power. So you did 2.5 times 2.5, and you should have ended up with 6.25. Once you got that, you need to do 6.25 times 2.5, and you should have ended up with 15.625. Please make sure that you put the decimal in the right spot. For the fraction one, if you write it out in expanded form, it really helps you solve it. So you'll see that's what I did. I did 2/3 times 2/3 times 2/3 times 2/3. Then I focused on the top row. I did 2 times 2 is 4, and then I did 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. That's going to be my numerator. On the bottom, I did 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. And it does not simplify. And so my answer is 16 over 81. You do want to make sure that it simplifies. All right. Those were our standard form ones. That is the end of this lesson. A little review and a little bit of new, and we will practice in class. Let me know if you have any questions.